How long does it take social media platforms to respond? Someone took my business name on TikTok and I filed an intellectual property report 2 weeks ago and still no response. That's a great question. So a couple things. The first thing is if someone takes this, if someone is using the name, the first thing they're gonna evaluate is if you have a registration on that name. So that's important. The second thing is they're gonna look and see if you actually when the person began using that handle. So this the first thing is there registration, and the second thing is when has that person started using that handle? Is it after the registration date? And the last thing they're going to want to look at is, hey, are they promoting the same goods or services? So people with similar business names can actually, um, you can have like, for example, Delta Airlines and Delta Faucets, same name, but they can coexist because they're doing something totally different. So it may not always be the case that they're going to take it down. Now, you said I don't know what your facts are, but if you reported 2 weeks ago, I definitely would follow up. I mean, typically we were following up when we submit a report, we send it, and then I think whatever 2 or 3 days, Austin, we're sending follow-up emails on it or sending additional reports. What's our typical timeline?
Yeah, so the process will be you'll get a confirmation that it was received, and you should have a case number. Um, Once you have that, you'll be able to follow up through the case number. Someone will typically reach out to you. It depends on the platform. Google is typically a week. Instagram around 2 weeks. Same with Facebook is around 2 weeks to get a response. Those responses, sometimes they're just very generic. Sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they'll say, hey, can you provide information about the report? And you're like, I put it all in the report. You're not going to read it. And so you got to just do it again. And
Yep.
you follow up with them again. And it goes back to the persistence. If you don't hear anything, I would file another report or follow up on the case number. And again, it's just persistence.
Yeah. And, a few things. Registration number, you need to highlight when you got the registration, when the other party started using the mark, if it was after registration, the fact that there's similar goods and services, you need to highlight that in there as well. And yeah, you're right. Austin, it sounds kind of silly that you actually have to say the exact same thing in the second follow-up, but you got to follow up. I mean, there's no you got to think of it this way. It's going to somebody in some other country that may not know the law, that may be having a bad day, and then it gets put in a stack of 1,000 other complaints, whether it's truthful or not. So the more you follow up and are proactive, the more likely it's going to be taken down if it's legitimate. Now, obviously, if you have we deal with a lot of e-commerce clients that have higher volume. They actually come to us because they just they just they just don't have the bandwidth. They just want us to focus on it, and we handle the work for them, that we evaluate for them, and we have a procedure that way. With smaller amounts of complaints, it's easier for smaller e-commerce sites to to um, to um,
Process them.
to process